No losses, I don't do lipo. A few screws loose in the head, I'm a psycho. Promise you the bar, just as real as the bite though. Misunderstood, you could call me a typo. I shine hotter than the stars in the night though. Hate the who's, don't give me a title. Flipped in asset, so I don't worry the price though. Got scratched like mine, no, leave it to the tribal.
Boom, I'm like a bomb in a room. Blow up the spot, everybody gotta move. Life or death, everybody gotta choose. Life or death, not everybody gotta lose. I hear the talking, I just keep quiet. Learn to speak silent, don't yearn for violence. Popping like a man.
Be careful not to get too close, I might just go.
Welcome back to day 3 of the largest online advertising event of the year. Welcome back to AdWorld. It's actually sad it's the last day. But then again, we still have over 40 amazing speakers lined up just today. These include absolutely amazing guys like Sir Martin Sorrell, Lanya Zambrano, or Ollie Gardner. So I know that you will love the content, but also please make sure to use the directory today. Make sure you connect with people here at AdWorld. There's so much value in the connections, and I want you to keep those, not just for today, but for your future. So, without further ado, please welcome our speakers and enjoy day 3 of AdWorld.
Next up is Ken from PMG Agency. In this talk, he's coaching you on how to boost your brand awareness by leveraging winning storytelling techniques. Ken, the stage is yours.
Welcome everyone to the Blueprint for Building Your Brand Campaign, Advertising Track 101. My name is Ken Porter. Today, I'll provide you with the blueprint for building your brand campaigns. We'll explore the bedrock, the foundation, and the building blocks for constructing your brand masterpiece. During this session, you will learn how to create impactful campaigns utilizing key strategies for brand storytelling, our bedrock, how to build brand awareness with powerful narratives, your foundation, and understanding the power of a comprehensive brand experience, the building block. Now, before we begin, I'd like to share some information with you about who I am. My purpose is to align with nonprofits and social impact leaders, helping to raise awareness, amplify their narratives, and design their impact through brand development and storytelling. PMG Agency is a purpose-driven brand. Again, my name is Ken Porter. I'm the founder and chief visionary at the PMG Agency, an asset frame comms company headquartered in Detroit, Michigan. We passionately work with partners to shift false narratives in urban communities by uplifting and extracting aspiring stories. Now let's begin with our blueprint. It's a high-level plan that will guide you through the process of design and construction for your brand project. These are your brand values. They are important because they inspire change, encourage innovation, and they create memorable experiences. Defining and communicating your values is critical to executing and living your company's purpose. Your purpose should be clear and strong. Now keep in mind, people resonate with a brand purpose that's personal and one that has an intimate origin. One author puts it this way: it's purpose over profits that define an agency or a brand. Your brand purpose is your bedrock. Defining your brand purpose requires asking yourself a series of questions, digging deep, and analyzing your business product and service. It's a mix of emotional, logistical, and analytical questions. So be prepared to dive into your internal world and think critically. For this, I'm going to provide a list of 5 starter questions that can help you extract your brand purpose. Number 1, when you started your business, what did you see that you wanted to change? Number 2, how can the pursuit of that change make a bigger difference? Number 3, what change do others want to see in the world, and how does your brand fit into that? How can you articulate a purpose that will inspire your audience to trust and support your brand? And number 5, how will your purpose motivate those that you want to work with? There's no right or wrong answer. It's just important that you know what accurately fits your brand. Now, once you've answered all of these questions, it's time to look over the answers and then combine them. You want to look for themes and common connections throughout. The goal is to identify the what, the how, and the why. Now, after you've gone through the purpose, you've essentially crafted the framework for your brand purpose statement. A brand purpose statement is essentially a brand's reason for being, which goes way beyond making money. Now, here are two examples of really great brand purpose statements. Number one, Expensify, to enable professionals to focus on what they were born to do. Number two, Crayola, to unleash the originality in every child. Again, it's purpose over profits that define an agency or a brand. The process of defining your brand value is not a one-time task. Here are some important elements to keep in mind as you're reevaluating those values. Choose positivity, default to transparency, make time to reflect, listen first and then listen again, and do the right thing. You may ask yourself these same questions in 3 to 5 years, or a different set of questions, which could be, what are my brand morals? What is my brand culture? And why was this brand ever created? This will lead you to developing the blueprint for your brand. Now, there are 4 exercises that you can do to extract your brand values. You can do a focus group. Now, I encourage you in a focus group not to include the CEO, because oftentimes the CEO or leader will kind of direct the group with their own focus, and you want people to be authentic. You can also do a member or employee survey. You can get feedback from consumers. And remember, this will continually evolve as you grow and learn from new experiences within your brand. Next are brand pillars. They are the points that set your company apart from competitors. You need to sum up the outlook on the things that matter most to you and your customers and how it naturally fits, then reinforce those ideas into the content that you produce. These are the 5 pillars of branding that you should be aware of. Culture, who you are. The convictions, values, and behaviors that define your brand. Number 2, story, and then service. And the next is visual identity. These are all critical steps of knowing before you can construct a successful brand story. Now we're going to talk about the techniques of brand storytelling. Brand storytelling isn't about creating marketing campaigns. It's about building inspiring movements. You do this by understanding the brand values and your audience profile. You want to understand how to position your brand narrative with your audience. Now, by creating an audience persona, you identify the people that you want to ultimately impact. These people are going to be completely different groups with different interests. Some interests might be social responsibility, others might be a return on their investment. But without a profile, you run the risk of missing your target and losing capital. Only 44% of marketers actually develop buyer personas before they begin their brand campaigns. And 85% of those people, they don't do them right. So do yourself and your brand a favor. Sit down and map out exactly who you're trying to reach. Go through your buyer personas with a fine-tooth comb, identify the age, gender, location, salary, income, and job title. And if you're not familiar with how to do that, align with a strategic partner. Brand storytelling is at the core of your brand. Think again of your core values and your brand culture. An important question to ask is simply this: why should your story be told? And the answer to that question will begin the framework and the blueprint for your brand narrative. Brand storytelling is a powerful way to build lasting connections with your audience. Compelling stories will engage consumers, elicit emotion, and foster loyalty, forging a meaningful relationship that goes far beyond a product or service. Now we're going to talk about success. How will you measure success? It's a very important element, and the key is to fall in love with data. Know the numbers beforehand. Know the numbers you need to see in order to determine that you've done a good job. Don't look at the end data and determine your takeaways. Determine your takeaways and then seek out the data that will match. And don't be afraid of failing, because retargeting is a necessary thing to do in marketing and branding. No one gets it right the first time. Now let's talk about what makes a great story. A great story grabs and keeps attention from the very beginning. You want people to internally ask themselves, what's next? Create anticipation. Bring the characters to life and control your narrative. That's my favorite one. Our native language for humanity is storytelling. Everything that we do, including advocacy, business, passion, and purpose, all goes back to that native language of storytelling. Storytelling is our antidote for the world as brand professionals, and you have the power to control that by giving the antidote and disseminating it the way that you choose to do so. The process of telling a story can be a fun journey of self-exploration. Do a deep dive and don't just hydroplane. Here's a key fact. Storytelling is not so much about technique as it is about being fully human. Be authentic, relatable, and compassionate. Show the people who you are. Now we're going to talk about the audience. Profile the audience by understanding why they exist. This makes your story more personal. You can get into the soul of your audience. There are 4 examples of communication I want to remind you of: reading, writing, speaking, and listening. Going deeper in your strategy is your key for your language. You don't want to have a corporate stuffy tone. Stay away from that. Look for ways to humanize your brand in everything that you do. One tip in accomplishing this is to focus on educating and not selling to your audience. Your language and your tone in storytelling is less about what you say and more about how you say it. Your tone brings character, value, and personality to your audience. This can easily become your secret weapon in setting your brand apart from others. The next question to ask is this: what's the goal? It's important to align your strategy with your brand goals and vision for the future. A visual storytelling strategy will resonate more with your target audience if it's shaped around your brand values. An important element in this process is to keep your goals within reach. They should be reasonable and realistic. Some examples of brand storytelling goals are awareness and education, competitive differences, social responsibility, lead generation, positive press, and thought leadership. Your strategy must be built around your goals. Now, next, we're going to discuss your call to action, or CTA. Before you begin crafting your CTA, know exactly what metrics you want to use as your measurement of success. In other words, what does success look like? What are the key performance indicators, or KPIs, associated with the campaign? Make sure that your call to action is doing just that, calling someone to action and not just giving them information. For example, our store is now open, or we've upgraded our technology. Your call to action should be just that, calling someone to action. For example, call us now or sign up today. Now, this is something that I call the brand sandwich. Numbers plus value plus urgency equals success. A key block in the building process is knowing that an agency's value is measured in outcomes, not output. You must learn to love your data. Now, I could easily spend 5 or more hours talking about data and understanding a variety of metrics. I won't do that, but I wanted to provide you all with some framework because data is such an important element in building a successful brand campaign. A brief summarization for bedrock strategies are: understand the language, be bold with your narratives, be purpose-driven, and understand your realities. Next, we build upward towards the foundation layer. For this level, I'll be discussing how to build brand awareness with powerful narratives. A brand narrative is the central building block of a meaningful brand strategy. We'll lead into this with our words and their connection to your brand narrative. Let's talk about owning our word. One of the most powerful concepts in branding and marketing is owning a word in the prospect's mind, known as the law of focus. Here's an example. When you think of the word cavities, Crest toothpaste may come to mind, and fast food, or fast, McDonald's might come to mind. But how do you own your word? You do that by controlling the story or the narrative behind the word. It's best to focus on a single word or concept that describes you or your brand. If you are a leader in this space, you can take ownership of this word before a competitor. Now, keep in mind that the most effective words are simple and benefit-oriented. Here's an example. In shipping, when you hear the word overnight, most likely you thought of the company FedEx. They own this word in their space. I shared earlier in my introduction that my agency represents nonprofits and foundations. Well, one client in particular has done an excellent job in their space with their word and the narrative associated with it. I'll share a short story. It was dark outside. He was 19 years old, visiting home from college, walking down the street, headphones on, music blasting. He didn't realize he was being followed for several blocks. He quickly became a victim. He was shot 1 inch above his heart in the chest, right outside of his parents' front door. Now, the scene became very chaotic and very dramatic very quickly. He almost died, but new life was breathed into him. Now, fast forward 20 years, he's the CEO and founder of a major nonprofit in Baltimore called Project Numa. They teach young boys of color the art of forgiveness, discipline, self-control, and mindfulness. Now, his word is pneuma, which means to breathe, and he owns this word in his space. Someone breathed new life into him. It's the perfect example of choosing a word that's personal, benefit-oriented, and has a powerful narrative along with it. Stories are so effective because they offer emotional appeal. When it comes down to it, most consumers aren't making a purchase based on stats or cost-benefit analysis. They purchase from brands they're able to connect with and relate to on an emotional level, and storytelling, it's the best way to do that. All right, let's climb a little bit higher towards putting together an effective brand narrative. When you can come up with a well-crafted narrative for your brand, you give your business the ability to increase its overall value. However, the key is being intentional in putting together the right brand narrative. As you develop the story that you want to tell for your business, I suggest keeping in mind the following guidelines, keeping you in control of that brand narrative. Be genuine. Keep it simple. Consider the audience. Offer the element of surprise and embrace empathy. And as you're working on identifying your word, always resort to the point of it being benefit oriented and making sure that that word has significant meaning associated with the foundation for your brand purpose. Now, let's discuss the cultural symbol. Your internal culture directly impacts your external perceptions. As a company culture is yet another resource to help a brand succeed, your cultural symbol should reflect your brand's growth opportunities. By definition, your brand culture is the collection of values, beliefs, and practices, and your cultural symbol should reflect this. These are a few examples of cultural symbols and what they represent. Number one, a glass jar. The first product from a generations-old company that now makes dozens of glass products. This shows humble beginnings. Number two, a large boat requires a team to steer, maneuver, and go forward. This shows teamwork and progress. The Yazaki boat at the Yazaki North American headquarters reflects culture of both teamwork and progress. A cultural symbol is not your first dollar earned or your brand logo. Brands that survive the test of time are those that stand on true purpose and continue to build upon it. It should always remain consistent, although your brand values can evolve to drive new levels of success. Remember, brand values are authentic. They should demonstrate who you are today and not who you aspire to be on tomorrow. Our last element in our blueprint is understanding the brand experience and the power of a comprehensive brand. I call these the building blocks. Now, to understand what makes a brand experience a successful one, it's important to see how the brand experience relates to other key elements within the brand. A brand experience describes how the brand is experienced by potential and existing customers before, during, and after any and all interactions with your brand. Brand design, brand voice, user experience, brand image, and customer support are all examples of brand experience. Branding is about every experience that people have with your company or your brand. And ultimately, branding is not about what you say it is, it's what your customers perceive it to be. And brand identity is the personality that your business has and the promise to its consumers. Remember, establish emotional connections. Absolutely every single experience matters when shaping your brand. Brand experiences are all inclusive. It tells a story about who you are. Now, here are 6 steps to creating a wonderful brand experience. Discover your purpose. Focus on storytelling. Adapt and evolve. Find opportunities for engagement. And be consistent and place experience over sales. Now, I'm from the Motor City, Detroit, Michigan. And when it came time to think of an impactful quote I wanted to share, I decided to go to one from Henry Ford, the founder of Ford Motor Company. He was a magnate, a visionary, and an industrialist. His quotes and insights on entrepreneurship and branding are legendary. He left this quote for us to all regard. You can't build a reputation on what you're going to do. Now let's summarize our objective and key points for the blueprint to brand campaigns. Number 1, how to create impactful campaigns and utilizing key strategies, our bedrock. We do this through identifying your brand values and your brand purpose. Number 2, how to build brand awareness and powerful narratives. That's our foundation. This is done by understanding the law of focus and the power of your word, and also by identifying your cultural symbol. And last are the building blocks, understanding the power of a comprehensive brand experience. Remember, branding is about every experience that people have with your company. Thank you all so much for joining me along the track to building the blueprint for brand campaigns. I hope that you all were inspired and that you can apply these strategies and key elements to your organization today. If you have any questions for me or would like to follow me along my brand journey, you can find me online at www.kenlporter.com. Also, our agency, www.portermediagroup.com. You can follow me on Clubhouse at Ken L. Porter, also on LinkedIn at Ken Porter, and on Instagram at Ken L. Porter. Thank you all for joining me today. Have a wonderful brand experience.